It's Adam Gorney at the Rivals Camp in LA here with special guest Matt Leinart, USC quarterback extraordinaire, really. But now, more importantly, the father of a quarterback.
Yeah,
What's that like, and did it come too fast?
it's. I think it always comes too fast, and then it'll be gone before you know
Yeah.
it. It's been exciting. You know, obviously, my son Cole, I've coached him in all his sports growing up: basketball, baseball, football. I was ready to kind of let him go to modern day and now just become a dad, you know, and it's I'm still trying to balance it out. You know, it's all coming fast, like you said, and start going through this recruiting process, and a lot has changed now since I was being recruited.
Yeah.
You know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever it was, 20 years ago. With NIL and just with social media and all this stuff. So it's definitely a different world, but my job and always is just to be a dad first. You know, I went through it, I played at the highest level. I've seen a lot of good, a lot of bad. So for me, I'm always just trying to give him advice. You know, he's got a great head on his shoulders. He wants to kind of create his own path and his own journey, which totally. But I always just tell him, you know, I've been through a lot. I'm here to help, you
Yeah.
know, and whenever you need it. And he's handled it all really well, and he loves it. He loves he loves football, he loves basketball. So it's been a lot of fun.
You know better than anybody, quarterback dads can be quite involved on an annoyance level of 1 to 10. Where do you find yourself, and how do you try to kind of temper it down too?
You know what? I'm fortunate because one, I didn't have a dad. I was baseball growing up, so my dad coached me in baseball, but he wasn't that type of dad. He coached me and he expected a lot out of me, but it was never the yelling. It was always just a balance of criticism, but always just being dad, and I love that. So I definitely kind of, was brought up with those types of values as a father and as a coach. So I think with Cole, I'm not the annoying dad. You know, my biggest thing, and I tell him all
Says
the
you,
time.
right?
Well, I'll tell you, my biggest thing is attitude and effort, man. Like, you better have a great attitude whether it's a camp or whether it's in a game or whether you throw a pick or you throw 6 touchdowns. The attitude and then effort. You know, those are the things that you can control. I've always said that. Like, you're gonna have bad throws. You're gonna play basketball and go 0 for 10. Like, you're gonna have those things in sports. So I'll never be the dad that yells at him if he throws 3 interceptions in a game. I just don't care. But I want you to have a good attitude, and I want you to give great effort. Those are the things that I've always cared about with him since he was small, and those are the types of things that I can still kind of, hope to instill in him. And he understands. He knows those are the things that he can control.
For all quarterbacks, not just for your son, but what's the difference between a good high school quarterback, what you were a great college quarterback, and then that next step, like that almost impossible step that only 30 guys get to do?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you have to. I mean, obviously, high school is one thing, and then even high school to college is tough. But now you're seeing younger kids, freshmen, play and play at a high level because the game has just evolved so much from a younger level. You know, you can go even down to middle school, and these kids are just so much more physically gifted and
Right.
athletic than we ever were. You know, with all the stuff that they have and all that. But at the highest level in the NFL, you got to remember everyone is great, and the detail. I think it's attention to detail, and it's the mental part of the game because physically, all of these kids are really gifted physically. They all have a lot of talent, whether they could run, throw, whatever. But up here and understanding the playbook and really understanding the nuances and the details of an offense and of the game, and then putting the work and working toward that and never settling. I always tell Cole, I said, you're as talented, you're a great athlete, you're a super talented multi-sport player, you're going to be recruited, you're going to have all of these great things, but if you don't work, there's 1,000 other kids that might be maybe less talented, but they're going to work harder, and I always tell them that. So you got to put in that work, and at that highest level, it just never stops. And Tom Brady is a perfect example. Like, he's obviously the best, but he's not the most physically gifted, as we know. He can't run, in a day of football where you need to be able to move as a quarterback. But he worked, and he's never satisfied, and he always worked to be better every single year, all the way up until this past season, and that's what you're trying to aim for.
You watch the NFL Combine, obviously. You see Anthony Richardson jump out of the stadium. Then you see Bryce not throw. You see C.J. Stroud throw every perfect pass. Who should be number one? Who would you take?
That's putting me on the spot. So I'm going to say this. I know Bryce and CJ very well personally. Obviously, Bryce, modern day kid. I know Bryce and his family, and I know CJ. I've covered CJ the last couple of years from Fox. I got to know him, and someone just asked me this question the other day. I don't know Anthony Richardson, great talent, obviously. I root for all these kids, especially the quarterbacks. But I don't know, 1A and 1B. I mean, look, they're both going to go top two.
Right.
You know, both very different players. But I actually had someone at this flag football deal ask me yesterday the difference between them and who you like. And I was just like, honestly, they're both completely different players, but they're both equally great kids.
Yeah.
And they both want to be great. They both work extremely hard. They're both very polite and respectful. And I love kids like that. And they're both like super talented football players, obviously. So, you know, CJ is more your kind of prototypical bigger guy, can throw from the pocket, moves better than probably people give him respect for, but he's got a big chip on his shoulder. You know, comes from a tough upbringing and just wants to be great and all that, and works really hard. And Bryce is very undersized, but like played at the highest level, and he's a magician. Like the things he can do, he's just very rare. He's very, very special. So a team isn't going to go wrong with either one.
I thought you definitely take the modern day guy, but
well, I love Bryce, but I got to know CJ well the last couple of years. So I root for both those kids. I really do.
What's going to be strange for them is they're going to go to a team where they struggle. You know, I mean, at Alabama and Ohio State, they didn't really experience that.
Well, but look, that's kind of what you do, and when you get drafted high and you go top 5, you know, you're going to go to a team that obviously had a down year. But whether it's Houston or Carolina, you know, there's pieces on these teams where you can build. And look at Jacksonville in the last couple of years. Jacksonville was awful a couple years ago. They get Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson takes them to the playoffs last year. So, you know, things can turn very fast in the NFL. You start to build around, especially when you get that young quarterback.
Especially now that it's a passing league.
Yeah.
Last thing, NIL. You have an NIL company. Talk about it, promote it, do all the things. But how much should, especially quarterbacks, factor that in versus best situation, best offensive coordinator, best coach, everything else that you have to figure out, you know?
It's a wild time. You know, like it's easy for me to sit up here and say it shouldn't factor into anything, because I just think, like, if you're good enough, those things are going to come. But you want to, if your ultimate goal is to get to the NFL or play at a high level in college, you're going to go to a place that's going to take care of you regardless. But that should be your number one goal. If you want to get to the league, you want to be the best, you go to a place where they have coaching and they have a system and coaches and guys that are, you know, Lincoln at USC is sending guys to the NFL. Yeah. He's a tremendous quarterback coach. There's obviously a lot of guys. That would be first and foremost to me, and that's something that I'll talk to Cole about over the next couple of years. Is like, you want to go to a place where, you know, you can develop and you can have the best shot and the best opportunity to get to the next level. Yeah. Because if you're at that place, those NIL deals are coming anyway. You know what I mean? You don't want to go chase the money. And it's interesting, you know, it's a new world in NIL and in high school and college athletics. I'm all for it. I think the market and all that stuff will correct itself over the next couple of years. But yeah, you can't. I see a lot of kids now chasing high school, transferring every single year to chase. Maybe it's a couple $1,000 here and there, you know, because obviously California high school kids can make money. Yeah. I don't agree with that part. I think, you know, stability is key, and you know, I know college coaches look at that stuff too. You know, they want a guy who's going to grind and work, and, you know, obviously not every situation is the best, but it's wild. I'm Hall of Goats. This is our video game. We're building a college football video game that serves NIL, so it's really cool. So we've signed a lot of players. Our demo comes out next month. It'll be an arcade style, kind of like NFL Blitz back in the day, NBA Jam, you know, big hits and all that. So we're building it. My partner, Greg Carlson, played with me at USC. Obviously, we grew up in the era where NIL didn't exist, so we love helping the players. I love video games. There's no one really doing this in our space, in the space in college athletics. So you'll see more and more as it takes a long time to build a video game, that's for sure. But it's been a lot of fun.
I was a big double dribble guy.
Double dribble. Okay, you're going even way back. Double dribble. What a great game.
Yeah, I know. Awesome. Yeah. Again, that's Matt Leinart. I'm Adam Gorney, and that's the Respect My Decision podcast.